So before we get on with our tours, as we did last year at 2:15, we took a moment of silence to honor the affirmation of the graves found in Kamloops, right? If everyone just take a moment of silence, and for the 215 children, now the thousands and thousands of children found across our country.
Now I'm doing my real education. I'm looking for opportunities to really listen to elders, survivors, and youth. So it was really wonderful to have so many in-person events organized this week for me to start to do that true education.
You'll see that the calls to action themselves are not that complicated to do, and if a private sector funeral home and cemetery can live by these calls of actions, I think every day we can kind of view them as something we can do. So this is Dr. Peter Henderson Bryce. Peter Henderson Bryce became this advocate for Indigenous wellness, Indigenous children wellness, and he really sort of came out and tried to adopt these policies that were so simple to do, but Duncan Campbell Scott viewed it as a ledger. Dr. Peter Henderson Bryce goes on, gets fired. They fire him on a technicality that he was working for two different departments at the same time, and he was doing something that he wasn't supposed to be doing, which is writing a report about the residential school.
My mother was a residential school survivor and also a 60s scoop survivor, and I think it's important for children, and I brought my daughter here today to learn about the legacy and the past history of colonialism. It really demonstrates that there's a great disparity between First Nations children and other children in the province, so I think that this is important to really get that message out.
So Duncan Campbell Scott, so at 18 years old, he becomes the superintendent of Indian Affairs. Essentially every piece of evidence that was ever seen that he saw, he denied it. He really institutionalized the residential school. He really sort of imposed that. He was really one that institutionalized the fact that residential schools would remove the child from the location and move it. First report that he receives from Peter Henderson Bryce is 1907. 1907, he loses his daughter. His daughter was sent away in France and gets a communicable disease that's lung-based. Kids in residential schools were dying from tuberculosis, mainly lung-based.
We're with the Historical Society of Ottawa. This is our president, Emma Kent. I'm the past president, Karen Lynn Willett.
I learned a lot. So I'm from Ottawa. I was born here, and I knew things happened here with the residential school, but it's been very meaningful being taken to the places and really seeing how they played out in our city.
We've got William McDougall just in the corner here. William McDougall is considered one of the fathers of Confederation. He in fact signed the British North America Act, which created Canada as an independent country. And so the government of Canada has him as exactly that. So again, with all this work and all this sense of this what we're trying to do, we're trying to get people to start talking about how you can be proud of the work he did. He wrote really interesting travel pieces. He signed the document of Confederation. We can be proud of that. But we also have to acknowledge the fact that within our pride, that in that sense, he did bring in an armed police force into a territory that wasn't ours. So this is Nicholas Flood Davin's grave. So Nicholas Flood Davin was an MP for the Macdonald government. Nicholas Flood Davin was tasked by the Macdonald government to find out what the problem with to figure out what to do with the Indian problem, right? I'm going to use the terms that we use. Nicholas Flood Davin then goes down to the northern United States, and in that he discovers the mechanized school system. The best way to explain it is like that. So it neither provided school nor provided really anything other than working these kids to the bone. So Nicholas Flood Davin writes the Davin Report. The Davin Report kind of lays the foundation for the residential school program that is then adopted by Duncan Campbell Scott, the Macdonald government.
I was really interested in getting a tour just to walk through the cemetery and have a new perspective of Canadian history and experiencing it firsthand. You know, we read books, we read textbooks in school, and it's really different when you're there and you can reflect and think about these people's lives and have a deeper understanding about their impact in our Canadian history.